Coming up on Cronkite News Watch.
Before your teen gets behind the wheel, a new bill may lead to more restrictions on the road. Plus, a fatal shooting last month causes one Arizona town's economy to suffer.
She's 13 years old, and the book is very graphic.
And parents question a junior high school's choice in literature.
In-depth, insightful, innovative. Cronkite News Watch starts right now.
Good evening, and welcome to Cronkite News Watch. I'm Zara Tallier.
And I'm Shane Dwyer. Thanks for joining us this evening.
Some fireworks today at the state capitol as lawmakers fight it out on the House floor over a bill. Some say it would define religious freedom, but others say it would allow discrimination. The debate has been going on for more than 2 hours now. Here's just a taste of some of the debate on the House floor.
We are trying to make sure that the government is not going after people's religious freedoms. And this amendment directly reveals government trying to define what people's religious beliefs should be.
This bill, without this amendment, without any of these amendments, is going to protect or going to hurt a certain class of people. We know who it is, the LGBT community, especially in these certain cities where they have protected status. That is going to be the bottom line, the end result of this bill if it passes without any of these amendments, which is going to happen, it looks like. And so, again, we're heading down a very dangerous road.
But what is really at the heart of this religious freedom bill? Cronkite News reporter Sophia Solis is tracking the latest in the broadcast center.
Both the House and the Senate are looking at passing identical versions of the bill. Supporters of HB 2153 say it aims to clear up the definition of religious liberty, especially when it comes to Arizona's employers, employees, and even customers.
Laura Rother is owner of Heavenly Pastries and Cakes. She's been the owner of her Phoenix Bakery for the last 8 years, and she says she owes a lot of it to her faith.
With this bakery, I prayed, every time I thought, I'll just give up. It's just too much. Something would come along. So it's just another way of God saying, here.
HB 2153, the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, is targeted at businesses like Laura's. The bill would leave it up to each individual business owner to decide who they work with.
Advocates argue that business owners should not forfeit their religious beliefs during business hours.
But this bill has already caused some controversy.
A lot of what is happening is it's fear-mongering, to be honest. It's just a distraction from what the bill truly is, which is to ensure that in America people are free to live and work according to their faith.
However, opponents of the bill, like the Secular Coalition of Arizona, say that the state is choosing religious liberty over civil rights, ignoring the needs of groups like the LGBT community.
This bill says basically, well, they're not covered under discrimination laws, so we're going to go ahead and say under our religious liberties, it doesn't matter if we discriminate against you because it's not technically discrimination.
For Rother, she says it won't affect her one way or the other.
I'm not going to say, you're not welcomed into my store, you're not welcomed around me because of who you are or what you believe in.
Groups like the Latino Caucus and LGBTQ groups are against the bill, calling it extremist and a threat to basic human rights. The House agreed to pass it and give it preliminary approval. Live in the broadcast center, Sophia Solis, Cronkite News.
The Capitol was also bustling today with talk of education and the future of our Valley schools. Cronkite News reporter Megan Thompson is live in the media center with an overview of the bills heading through legislation. Megan?
Yes, it was a jam-packed room at the Senate committee hearing. They even had to open up the hearing room next door to seat everyone. And with 11 education bills trying to make their way through, the day was full.
Welcome, everyone. What a crowd.
Coming out in full force, hearing firsthand what's going on in our education system.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of misinformation out there regarding the standards.
Many people sporting buttons like these to show off their support for higher education standards. And they wanted a front row seat to hear the bills hitting the floor today. One bill that got a lot of attention early was Senate Bill 1240. It says after retirement, an employee must wait 1 year before coming back to the workforce to avoid double dipping in benefits. However, Senator David Bradley disagreed, saying the need for good teachers makes this bill a non-issue.
And we have a bill in pursuit of a problem. And it doesn't seem to be that dramatic of an issue.
But it did pass, along with Senate Bill 1110, which would allow unused public school buildings to be bidded on by charter schools or private schools. And while it was contested, some in the room said it was good for the surrounding communities.
You have cafeteria workers, you have maintenance workers, beyond the educated having teacher jobs.
But the biggest debate, the issue with Common Core requirements, which would replace Ames testing. There are multiple bills addressing the issue, including Senate Bill 1388, which would give schools the option to come up with their own adopted assessment that must be approved by the school board. Also, 1395, which would allow schools to opt out of assessment requirements. And 1396, which allows schools to adopt a minimum amount of requirements for students that they will then have to submit to the school board for approval. Those who support Common Core say we need it.
If Arizona's graduates are not prepared, our employers could be forced to look to other states to fill those needs.
Now, all those Common Core bills were passed by the committee, even though the committee said they did contradict each other. Now, so many people wanted to make their voices heard, so they only got through 9 of the 11 bills slated for the day before they had to head to the floor. Live in the Media Center, Megan Thompson, Cronkite News.
Arizona education and business leaders gathered outside of the Capitol to express their concern about education standards. They feel like the legislative bills introduced this session will move Arizona education backwards. Members of chambers of commerce and school administrators from across the country came out to support keeping Common Core standards in
being
schools.
stranded.
They say Common Core will better prepare students for college and jobs after graduation. They feel these standards will move education in Arizona in the right direction.
The net result of this will be a lot more Arizona students graduating ready to be economically independent.
Despite their concerns, SB 1310, which prohibits the State Board of Education from implementing the Common Core standards, passed the education meeting today.
The learning curve for new drivers can be steep. In fact, teenagers have the highest risk of crashing in their first year driving. Tara Molina was at the Capitol today and joins us live from downtown Phoenix to talk about a bill that should make Arizona's roads a little bit safer for everyone. Tara?
Bill 2359 punishes new drivers who use their cell phone within the first 6 months of getting their license. The Transportation Committee unanimously passed House Bill 2359 today. The bill prevents newly licensed drivers and those with just a learner's permit from using a cell phone while driving. Teens caught texting or talking will have to keep their cell phones off for an additional 6 months, and repeat offenders would face a fine.
We didn't have this problem 10 or 15 years ago. We've got it now. It's growing. It's a safety concern. It's a deadly thing to text while you're driving.
Representative Steele hopes that this bill will teach good driving habits, and eventually she'd like to see texting and driving completely banned in the state of Arizona. Live in downtown Phoenix, I'm Tara Molina, Cronkite News.
For any parent, taking a newborn home from the hospital can be scary. But now, lawmakers are taking steps to try and make parents feel a lot safer. Reporter Brittany Thomason says House Bill 2491 would increase testing before children are released so they don't end up back in the hospital.
For Molly Wright, she thought everything was okay after giving birth, until something went wrong. When her son Mark started having trouble breathing, the hospital did a test they don't usually do on all newborns, and it showed Mark had a congenital heart disease.
We thought he was healthy, and so it was very hard to hear that he would need multiple surgeries.
But she is thankful doctors did further testing to catch the heart condition.
They discovered that something was wrong because of the pulse ox test.
The test that helped save Mark's life would now be required for all babies before they leave under the new bill. The American Heart Association says this test will save lives.
You don't end up having those really sad situations where we lose a baby at home and they find out they had a critical defect that could have been caught using this test in the hospital.
Another test that the bill supporters want is to test for immunodeficiency illness, also known as a SCIDS test, because this can be very dangerous for newborns as well.
We're asking DHS to do is to do a cost-benefit analysis.
The sponsor of the bill says these new tests are necessary if we are going to have healthy children being sent home from the hospital.
We can start to either do surgery or address the issues when the baby is young.
Ooh, whoa! Molly Wright was lucky. Mark is now 5 years old and running around and doing what most 5-year-olds do. She wants to make sure other mothers get to enjoy raising their child just as she does.
There are a number of children with this condition who don't survive.
Making it even more important to catch these diseases before it's too late. In Phoenix, Brittany Thomason, Cronkite News.
Congenital heart disease is currently the leading cause of death for infants, and about 500 babies a year are born with the defect in Arizona.
Not just issues dealing with humans are heard at the Capitol. There are two lawmakers who have a reputation for trying to push bills through that protect animals. Reporter Vivian Padilla takes a look at some of the new bills and talks with both lawmakers and supporters about why those bills are needed.
2 lawmakers, 5 bills, and it's all going to the animals. Legislators at the Capitol are hoping to strengthen animal protection rights this session. And that's captured the attention of the largest animal protection organization in the U.S.
These are core values of a civil society. I mean, how we treat the most vulnerable says a lot about us as individuals and all of us collectively as a society.
Senate Bill 1036 would add animal fighting to the list of racketeering crimes. Senate Bill 1037 would create a registry of animal abusers. House Bill 2020 would ban live animals given out as carnival prizes. House Bill 2022 would ban those convicted of animal cruelty from owning animals. And House Bill 2242 would extend the definition of a commercial dog breeder. But this isn't just an animal issue, it's about humans.
There's a lot of studies that exist that I've become increasingly aware of, which link the animal cruelty to later human violence.
Some supporters of the bill say they are pushing so hard to get them passed because history has shown in some cases that aggression against animals can eventually lead to aggression against people.
Animal cruelty is not just about the animals, it's a community safety issue.
And both Senator Farley and Representative Kavanaugh have been 2 of the strongest supporters of animal rights legislation.
No living creature should be harmed unnecessarily.
For now, the legislators are pushing for their bills to be heard. In Phoenix, Vivian Padilla, Cronkite News.
So far, only one of those bills has made it from the House to the Senate, and that's the bill that would define what a commercial breeder is. The other 4 bills have not received a third hearing in either the House or the Senate.
Coming up on Newswatch.
No, this isn't a ghost town. A fatal shooting has a small border town facing an economic pinch.
Protecting children's innocence. What's taking one book off the shelves of a local middle school?
We all know violence along the border in Mexico has slowed tourism from the U.S. But as Amanda Ames explains, Arizona border towns are suffering too.
One look around Douglas, Arizona on a recent Saturday, and you'd have thought it was a ghost town.
That pretty much just shut down both communities. Businesses on Saturday pretty much closed on about 3 o'clock.
At first glance, this seems like your typical small town, but just a stone's throw away, something separates it from the rest. Douglas's economy is feeling the pinch, while Agua Prieta, Mexico lives up to its name as the waters continue to darken. A little over 2 weeks ago, just beyond this fence, violence broke out as the business of illegal narcotics turned deadly.
This small Arizona border town saw a huge downturn in business after last month's fatal shooting in Agua Prieta. The U.S. temporarily shut the port of entry. Meanwhile, local leaders encouraged a voluntary sunset curfew, causing the hundreds of consumers passing through the port of entry to suddenly stop.
So it's been a big impact, a 50 to 60% drop in business.
Local stores like Dollar General, who cater to these foreign consumers, are facing the brunt of this commercial standstill.
I'm hoping the market goes back up. It's starting to slowly go back up. At first, there was nothing, only a few customers.
Mayor Ortega is concerned with the fear still surrounding the town, but hopes reaching out to the neighboring communities will show that it was an isolated event and revive Douglas's usual flow of business. In Phoenix, Amanda Ames, Cronkite News.
A book has been banned from a Valley Junior High School after having been on the shelves for 4 years. Reporter Kaylee Formicella takes us to Stapley Junior High.
She's only in 7th grade, she's 13 years old, and the book is very graphic and it has a lot of inappropriate pictures in it too. So I was pretty shocked that she got this at school.
The book Lauren Mitchell is referring to is Things I Have to Tell You by Betsy Franco. The book was banned from Stapley Junior High School after Mitchell complained not only about the book containing graphic details about drug use, but also sexual profanity.
You send your kids to school and you just kind of assume that everything's going to be maybe PG rated, but you never think that they're going to bring something that is NC-17 home.
What's interesting is that 3 copies of this book have been on the shelves at Stapley Junior High School since 2010 without any complaints, until now. We spoke with the author Betsy Franco by phone, and she says the book was originally intended for high school students, but that she has gotten positive feedback from all kinds of communities.
I have found that some middle school students have gotten a lot out of the book. Hardly any of us can tell who's going to benefit from a book like this, but I would hate to see it banned from all middle school students.
Principal of Stapley Junior High, Ken Erickson, says he knew the book was at the school and that it isn't really being banned, just moved.
This was not a banning of a book. This was finding the appropriate place and audience for a book.
Mitchell says it's important to read into your children's lives to be able to decide what's best for them.
We've got this one chance in life to protect our children's hearts, and this is the only time in their lives where we get such a say-so about what material is appropriate and what material isn't.
An obligation she has taken note of. Reporting from Mesa, Kaylee Formicella, Cronkite News.
Mountain View High School has been offered the book to put on its shelves, but the school has not made a decision yet on accepting it. We love the warm weather here in Phoenix, but guess what? So do the snakes. Nathan Delatorre tells us what to do in case you find one in your home.
You might be scared of them, but snakes are not as dangerous as you think.
They're really misunderstood. I mean, they can be really beautiful things, and people don't see them. People are scared of snakes a lot of times.
Daniel Marchand is the curator of the Phoenix Herpetological Society and says that our homes can be an oasis in the desert for snakes.
If you have a pool or some kind of a pond in your backyard, the rodents are coming in to get a drink. The snake knows that the rodents are coming in, so he now comes in and he waits for that rodent to come in and get a drink.
Brian Hughes gets a lot of calls this time of year as the temperature starts to warm up.
Calls are starting to increase. I've seen some in the wild, and that's right on schedule with what should be happening.
According to the Arizona Game and Fish Department, Arizona is the home of 52 different species of snakes. This guy right here is a gopher snake, and his name is Kong.
While Kong isn't poisonous, he can still bite. If you find one like him near your home, don't try to remove it yourself.
They say that 7 out of 10 people trying to remove a rattlesnake from their yard oftentimes underestimate the snake's abilities.
And if you're on a hike and hear that infamous rattle,
it's a warning. You're too close. I'm not comfortable with you being that close to me. I'm rattling to tell you that I'm here. Please back off.
In Scottsdale, Nathan Delatorre, Cronkite News.
The experts we talk to tell us if you are bitten by a snake, skip out on all the bizarre methods that you may have heard, such as making a tourniquet or sucking out the venom. Instead, relax, call 911, and get yourself to the hospital.
That's it for Cronkite News Watch tonight.
Thanks for joining us. Have a great evening.